I've been talking about ADHD and some of the systems, frameworks and gadgets that I use to manage ADHD as a PhD student at Oxford University for a while now on my channel. We can quite easily understand ADHD as a neurodevelopmental disorder causing non-specific symptoms of general inattention, hyperactivity, impulsivity and challenges with self-control. And I've talked about the 3 different types of ADHD previously, but very few of us can appreciate that ADHD causes specific deficits in executive function, and these tend to manifest as emotional and behavioural instability, reduced working memory, and as well as this time agnosia, which is probably better known as time blindness. How we understand the passage of time is a fundamental executive function. Now, I won't go into the physiology of how we perceive time as humans, or else I'll be here all day, but how we sense time and our inability to perceive time accurately with ADHD affects our ability to engage in goal-directed, purposeful activities that require us to keep focus over long periods of time, or to change from one task to another. As someone with ADHD who has time blindness, I've really reflected over how my ADHD affects my day-to-day life at university, and specifically my inability to perceive time, which is probably best demonstrated in 5 ways. If you demonstrate any of these 5 behaviors, then it may be possible that you too have some element of time agnosia. So let's get into it. 1. Poor judge of time it takes to complete tasks. The fudge ratio is the time we think it takes to complete a task versus the time it actually took to complete that task. With my ADHD, I find it very difficult to estimate how long assignments at university will take me to complete, and typically my average fudge ratio is around 2.0. This means that my estimates are far too ambitious generally speaking, and it takes me twice as long to actually complete a task or assignment. I made a video a while back where I go into the importance of calculating your own fudge ratio with ADHD. Now, because I know my time estimates are off by a factor of 2, I generally give myself at least twice the time it'll actually take me to complete a task. And this means I'm not going to feel rushed ahead of a self-imposed deadline and less likely to procrastinate. It also means when I do complete the task quicker, I feel more motivated to do more work. Time agnosia means that we're not able to perceive or sense time. It's not an intentional disregard for time, and this is really important to understand. As well as being a poor judge of time, I find that sometimes I hyperfocus and I'm just not able to perceive time altogether and can focus hours on end when I'm in a flow state. And whilst this is the one advantage of time agnosia I'll talk about today, hyperfocusing can make it harder for me to switch from one task to another because I'm so submerged in that one task. And this leads me onto my next symptom with time agnosia: now or not now. Because I find it difficult to task shift, I generally like to complete one task before moving on to the next. For me, everything is either now or not now, and this is a strong indication of a deficit in executive function, specifically time agnosia. I generally find it difficult to take a scattergun approach and complete several tasks to a small degree and then layer up over time. I like to finish what's ahead of me now before moving on to the next task. While this can be beneficial as I'm able to hyperfocus on one task and get it done, I'm fully aware of the downsides of this approach. When I was sitting medical school exams, I think it was better working to a small amount on several subjects than working chapter to chapter. It also saves time sunk because chapter 1 might not be the most important prep for my exam compared to chapter 10. To combat this, I've definitely become a lot better at layering tasks, but then I need to definitely use a Kanban board or else I can lose track of my progress and feel overwhelmed. The conventional to-do list just doesn't work well for me with more complicated and multi-step tasks like preparing for an exam or writing an essay. Time agnosia means everything is relative to the present. Since we find it difficult to perceive future time, everything has to be relative to the present, now or not now. By reflecting over my own performance at Oxford, I've been able to develop some strategies to help me take more of a scattergun approach with some tasks, but it's taken a lot of work. Let me know in the comments if you want me to talk about this. I'll try to make some videos soon on this. 3. Waiting mode anxiety. As someone who has both ADHD and anxiety, I feel the two work together to compound some of my symptoms of time agnosia. Now, one of the bizarre symptoms I get is task inertia before an appointment or a social event, or any commitment really that has a set time and will take up part of my day. For instance, if I have an important phone call at lunch to catch up with a friend an hour or 2 before, I just find it impossible to get started with work because I know I have this commitment coming up. I feel I won't be able to make good progress before the commitment, so it's very hard to commit to any work. I think probably the most extreme effects of waiting mode anxiety in the past for me has seen me not able to do any studying in my entire day if I have a commitment in the middle of my day. For this reason, just by the fact that I've been able to understand my symptoms and pinpoint this down to my ADHD, I've been able to make adjustments so this rarely ever happens. And that's the whole point of my YouTube channel. Now I rarely ever have social meetings in the afternoon. I tend to keep these early in the morning or late in the evening, so I know I can get back to work after the meeting, or I can use it as motivation to work as much as possible in the day so I can enjoy myself in the evening. Waiting mode anxiety related to time agnosia is a real problem with ADHD for a lot of people, and this also leads on to my next symptom of time agnosia. 4. Chronically late. This is something which I find difficult even now to fully comprehend, as it's probably the most marked and obvious sign for everyone to see, and which I struggle with most. When I was in my first year of medical school a few years ago now, being late to lectures was the first thing that led me to being tested for ADHD. I just wasn't able to make lectures on time. No matter how hard I tried, I'd always arrive 2 to 5 minutes late every single day. And that's even if I woke up early, I'd still end up arriving late somehow. If you're also finding you're unable to arrive to things early, even for events you're really looking forward to, then it may be possible that you too have time agnosia with your ADHD. Several years on now, I'm a lot more in control of my chronic lateness, and the single biggest thing that's helped me has been waking up at 5 a.m. and sleeping at the same time every single day. By sleeping and waking up at the same time every day, I've built a great routine and I'm able to appreciate the passage of time a lot better. I know what my morning looks like, and I'm able to get accustomed to what the rest of my day is going to look like. Don't get me wrong, there's still times when I'm late, but I'm getting a lot better at it, especially with experimenting with different technology, which I'll go into soon. 5. Emotional hyperfocus. Generally speaking, deficits in executive function cause emotional instability. It's why people with ADHD find it hard to manage their emotions and can be more spontaneous, and especially in childhood, tend towards more antisocial behavior than kids without ADHD. This is very well understood, but one of the other symptoms of deficits in executive function is also time agnosia, and the two work hand in hand. If you struggle to manage your emotions and have high highs and low lows, then it may be possible that you have some features of ADHD, providing of course you see a qualified health professional and meet the DSM-5 criteria for ADHD. Hyperfocusing on my emotional state is another symptom I experience. I tend to get 110% happy when I'm happy, but sometimes a small negative trigger can cause me to feel intense emotions and forget everything else and get into a 110% sad or angry state. If emotional instability and hyperfocus is a symptom that you're displaying, it may suggest that you also have an element of time agnosia. These 5 symptoms are not an exclusive and complete list of symptoms people with ADHD who also experience time agnosia exhibit, but I hope this goes in some way to hopefully help you better understand that ADHD affects people in different ways and the real impact of time blindness in ADHD. If there's any other symptoms that you're experiencing with ADHD, let me know in the comment section below. And if you learned even one thing, like this video and subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with more videos on the systems, frameworks and gadgets that I use to stay on top of my ADHD at university. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.